Testing.
Oh, good, it worked, okay.
Halloween.
Okay.
She's doing Halloween.
Is that the member that's here, that comes here?
We are live. Pledge of allegiance, please. And Merrill's not here today, so we have a substitute note taker over there. I guess you're going to, and I guess you know who's here and who's not here?
I do.
Okay. All right. And then we have the minutes of September 26th. Any issues with that? Somebody like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next we have the planning board report. We had no applications that was postponed, and we have a few coming up, which we're going to have to do a quick review on, and not a complicated ones, but we do have 2 reviews that we're going to submit for the planning board. They're residential developments. And the only other thing we have coming up on planning board is the restaurant right across the street from, is coming back. It's a restaurant right to the rear of what used to be Stewart's Root Beer. They have a kitchen back in there, and they use it in conjunction with the Ugly Mug. So there's an issue coming back with that, and we'll see where that goes. Doesn't really involve much what we do, but now it's just a question of whether they can do what they can do there, what they want to do. That was it. We've been pretty quiet at the planning board lately. Mike, you have a report on Delaware Avenue at all?
Well,
Anybody want to comment on it, if whatever they do know?
I'll mention, I think members of the commission saw the email I sent out, which was, I was surprised. The project is still under design, and but it will be complete, and the physical work won't start until September of '24. The good news is we found out that the crossover that exists over there will in fact be rebuilt by the Army Corps, so we won't have any issue at all having to spend that money to totally rebuild that thing ourselves, which is great. And that they're going to be doing the entire coastline all the way up to and including some property on the yacht club up to our small ramp. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing, but unfortunately it's another year away. And they will meet with
I had a conversation.
with you, Gretchen.
So
Okay.
project manager from the Army Corps of Engineers, Joel Dome, called me, and we had a good conversation. He updated me, same thing that you just said. It's going to be another year, mainly because of the whole, he kind of indicated that they were further along in the design.
Yes.
There's a new engineer design or assigned to the project, and that was, so another set of eyes. He brought up some concerns looking at the original design work, which then made them go back to the yacht club, and they had met with Barry Sullivan and some people from the yacht club.
Right.
So that was being tweaked a little bit, and that, yes, it's not happening until next winter, not this winter. He did talk about the harbor access ramp in front of the Nature Center, how it's going to be extended out like another 30 feet. And I take it as being more perpendicular, or no, it is perpendicular now, but it's going to be perpendicular and then not necessarily have that turn that makes it parallel, which is better.
Yeah.
The thing I would add to you as a councilman is that we have an opportunity now that we have this dock going out there is an opportunity to do something more with that, really enhance our harbor access for transient boaters and recreational kayakers and all that. We could have at the end floating docks that are removable. At one time, we had Phil Risco from North Star Marine willing to donate the dock to us. That honestly, we could make it a seasonal thing where it's put out into the water during the summer months, and then the docks are actually lifted out of the water and could be stored on the Nature Center property. It's just another amenity that could support passive recreational boating. We're not talking about dockage for motorboats and everything, but for kayaking, we know more and more people are using the harbor. If you go down to the harbor during the summer months, and the beach at Fisherman's Memorial is packed with
It's,
people.
yeah, it's been a huge change. That was never like that.
Well,
Just 2 years ago, it seemed like there was hardly anybody there.
All the new housing that's there on Missouri Avenue is, those people think it's their own little private beach.
Right, right.
And that's fine, but as long as we have amenities like trash cans
Right.
and everything. And so it's just something that I think the city needs to be paying attention. I heard some rumors that maybe the city is looking at creating a walkway along Delaware Avenue. I don't know if there's any information you have on that.
I have not heard anything about that.
Okay,
No.
there's a rumor.
Yeah.
Rumors are rumors, but
You know, Mike, Paul, the guy, the new zone.
Paul Dietrich, yes.
Paul Dietrich, this was before his time coming here, but maybe just reach out to him a little bit and see whether he can get involved a little bit with this.
Oh, yeah, he actually, that's how we got as
I mean,
far
he
as
may
we
be, but
got.
now now
Yeah,
we
he
wanna do
met,
Some other stuff.
he met with the Army Corps, the project engineer, and will be involved
Getting
in the
at is we
process.
would like to push the envelope a little bit on this.
But this is the guy that we would talk to about the things that Gretchen just
Yeah,
mentioned.
exactly right.
I mean, the timing is right. Not that the Army Corps has any additional money to put into things like floating docks and all that. And the county engineer in the past, whenever I've brought up some things, he's kind of like, he hears what I say, but doesn't really offer any feedback. But there's potential money out there, whether it's through county open space funds, that can make improvements along Delaware Avenue. And let's not forget Harbor View Park, because the original whole project there on the harbor was the result of a big development project that was once proposed there in the late 80s.
Right.
And that's how Harbor View Park came to be, and eventually how the Nature Center came to be. And, I was going to bring that up at this meeting, and it could be new business, but I'll mention it
Go ahead, go
now
on.
that, the Harbor View Park is just a mess. It's a mess that the city needs to pay attention to. It's a gem that we have, but it's not being taken care of properly. And, I mean, the Satnick Foundation has used that as their end party for their Around the Island paddle that they do. That brings in hundreds of people to the city for that event. They don't want to use the park anymore either. They're talking to us at the Nature Center to have their party at our facility. We had our fundraiser there for a couple years, and I just think let's put some attention to that part of the harbor. And the timing's right with this project, because you never know. We might be able to, ride the coattails of the construction work that's happening, and for a little bit more, maybe the county has some funds to improve sidewalks or whatever. We don't even have sidewalks that go the whole way down Delaware Avenue. There's gaps in part of that road.
Yeah, right now, the work that's being done for Harbor View Park is we're looking for grants and funding for it, because we know it needs a makeover for sure.
Well, there at one point, and I have copies of it, there was an amazing park design for that location that was to focus on native plants and, you know, it was like going to be an arboretum, a place where people could go see the plants that are adapted to, you know, the local conditions, and they could then use those plants in their yards. And instead of putting in lawns and all of that, it was to really feature the seaside tolerant, drought tolerant native plants. And that was the original plan. It just kind of didn't happen. And maybe we could start looking at that again. Charlotte knows a lot about that.
I just, I wonder if there's a fund. For example, I know that the Harborview Park has been used in the past for weddings. A lot of weddings occurred there. And so do people have to pay a little bit of money to use that site? Is there a wedding fund in the city?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because-
I know people pay to get married, to have weddings, I believe, on the beach. I know there has to be a fee there.
Right.
I would think you could have the same thing over there.
But,
But you have to make the investment,
yeah,
you know, before you get to at least there's some what you're suggesting is there's some payback for the investment if you give the right attention to the facility, make it attractive. It is a nice place for it.
it was scheduled originally to be a condo site, 3-story condos, massive building of that entire site. So Mr. Gaffney was mayor then, and he wanted that preserved. So that's the reason it's there. And Gretchen's right, it could certainly be improved with the original plan.
So do we have the original plan?
She does.
I mean, I've got some smaller, reduced copies. I can share that, what I have. And again, it was, you know, like trails and in between landscape. It was heavily landscaped. It wasn't a lot of open space. And then there was a little bit of money left from the open space fund from the county. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe there's money again.
Can't help but think, Mike, that the open space that Cape May County would really want to get involved in this project if we
Right.
could just get it to them. You know what I mean? Get
Right.
something to them.
Right.
So I actually did the design for the 3 berms that are there. And the only criticism I have was when they constructed them, they made the berms really high. So there's these big bumps out there. And then it was landscaped.
Is that when Lou Correa was manager? Is that when he-
Yeah, probably. It probably was Lou Correa. And, you know, it was nicely done, but then it wasn't maintained. And then what was happening was, and I know this for a fact, people in surrounding houses would just go out there and plant their own memorial tree, and usually non-native, and then somebody was growing tomatoes and mint, and, you know, it was just, and then it wasn't, you know, it wasn't taken care of. And then some people were like, oh, it's blocking my view, I'm gonna cut this branch, and it was just, it hasn't been, the city does go in pretty much once a year, they'll clean it up and then kind of forget about it. And like I said, it has so much potential. A couple years ago, we did early morning yoga classes. The Nature Center hosted 2 more. And it's lovely. And people think, oh, they don't use it. A lot of people do go there. You see a lot of people take their lunch breaks there, or it becomes sort of a local dog park for all the residents. That's where they go. And we had even designed it to be passive in that, you know, we're going to have playground equipment or anything like that, but it was a place to put, to just go and enjoy the review, the view and to relax. We even designed a labyrinth, a walking path, and yeah, there's a lot of potential. One of my pet peeves lately is that the city just keeps on putting memorial benches, and now there's way too many benches. And it becomes, and they're different, there's like 3 or 4 different designs of benches there, and it becomes cluttered. And so, just some things could be done and could even be a place for events. Again, not major events with tons of traffic, but the wedding thing, I mean, with a little bit of attention, I think it almost could be sold by the city, marketed as a location for weddings.
Right.
So,
I know that if you've been out there recently, the vegetation's all down, and it's just a gorgeous view. And they can't destroy that part of it. They can mess up everything else, but right now, the view is just spectacular from there.
And it's amazing at night.
I mean, I park out there and just park out right with your car out there, and it's just gorgeous now. I mean, you can see the harbor now. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something that, I'm not sure which person on the council is responsible for that kind of stuff, but that's, I can't agree with her more. It's really a spot that we should be trying.
but again, looking collectively at the harbor, all the public places, Harborview Park, Fisherman's Memorial, the Nature Center is a city-owned property, the whole strip from Fisherman's Memorial all the way up to the Yacht Club, other than there is the Coast Guard Housing Office there. I mean, that is city-owned land. And with this major construction project coming up, there's an opportunity to get our foot in the door with the county and say, look, engineering department, talk to the open space department, and what more can we do here?
I'd just like to suggest, too, that certainly the Nature Center and a number of other sites in the city, including the Physic Estate, they're all Green Acres properties as well. So I wondered about Green Acres funding, perhaps to help with this project or any of the projects along the harbor.
Is there do we have, like, as a consultant, a grant writer for the city now?
Yeah, Jim Rutala.
Okay, I know.
Triad involved at all? I mean,
Is who?
Triad, Mike Zampino also does that stuff.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if he's involved in what level, what projects he's involved in, but yes.
I mean, Jim is really good. You just got to push him to the direction that
He's
you
got a
want him to go.
lot, he has a lot on his plate, that's for sure. He's got some big jobs on his plate, so we need to make sure that we have the other things like this being pursued as well. And like I said, I'm positive Harborview Park is in our sights, and that we are in fact looking for funding to make the improvements there. I can't tell you who and what are responsible right now, and I'll just find out. I'm pretty sure that Paul will have the details on it.
I do think a call to Green Acres might help, because that's a state-funded, we are a state-funded area.
And I would be willing to help with that if, I think I heard Maureen might be a point of contact for Harborview Park, but I don't know her, honestly. And I just, whatever we can do to help push it along or to help look out for funding sources. I'm kind of busy too, but if I had somebody also working with me and pushing me, I might be able to do that. So if you can make any kind of connections and find out who that would be, maybe a quick 1-hour meeting with whoever it is, Jim Rutala, just so everybody has their eyes open, looking for these opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Maureen just left town for a week, so she'll be back. I have a note. I'll
Okay.
mention it to her, too.
Thank you.
I can't help but think that the county open space program would be the most immediate source and the best source right now for the,
Yeah, I mean,
the quickest source of funds.
we use them a lot. The county open space is working Lafayette Park. They're involved in the,
I mean, they meet once a month, or at least once a month. and
Yes,
just Review
yeah.
all this stuff. I mean, and they just keep,
yeah, the Kiwanis Park, they're involved in that, too.
Mm-hmm.
Funding, a lot of the funding is coming from them.
but you're right, while it's all torn up, now's the time to do it.
Delaware Avenue is a
Yeah.
county road, so it's just like, there's an opportunity there.
I agree. Okey-dokey. Cam, you got a comment on the dark skies brochure?
Yes. Okay. So we started with the dark sky. I did a little research. I've now found through Mike the Township of Hopewell, New Jersey, and there's still the one from Malibu, of course, California. But I'm taking those two ordinances and I'm going to tweak them, look at them both, and then I'll get everybody on the committee a sort of final draft, and then we'll send it. We'll look at it as a committee, and then also the HPC. We want to send it to them and get their expertise on it, and then we'll get it to council. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was wondering if did you look at that, what is it, uniform model, model lighting ordinance?
Yes.
I just went through that today. It's really, really detailed, and then it gets really complex, I
Yeah.
guess, at the end. I only read through it to see if there's something that was missing from the others that should be incorporated. I don't know if you saw anything really.
I didn't, like it does get really complex, and as I'm, typing up the Hopewell one to obviously to put in the city of Cape May and all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking to myself, like, right, the average layman, like, how do you present this to people, the average homeowner, and say, this is what we need from you? So actually, I gave a couple of brochures out. This is what the city of Malibu did. And the backside actually is really informational about what does 3,000 Calvins really look like. Of course, this is not in, you think you have it, do you have it in your?
Yeah.
We need another copy down.
Yeah, pass this down. Pass that down. So I think this is the way that the city of Malibu did it. They said, here's our new ordinance, and this is what needs to be done now, and this is what needs to be done, for new construction or new people. Right, for existing lighting, this is what needs to happen and at what effective dates it needs to be happened by. For new lighting, basic requirements. So I think something like this as a marketing tool would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Once we get to that point, right? Once we get the ordinance in place and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, the back of it's really great. Like, what does shielded mean? And this is really great down here, like, very bad, the whole light thing. And it, the best is straight down lighting. So this could be a very helpful tool if we could, change this to meet our needs. And, I gave you copies of this is what we gave out at the Monarch Festival.
Right.
And this is about how light pollution can harm wildlife. There's also a brochure for health reasons and safety reasons also that talks about light pollution and how it affects that. And I just have one copy of each of those, but, brighter does not always mean safer, that kind of thing. I don't know if you want to pass these around. I only have two, and one's health and I only have one copy of
You
these.
can find all this online.
Yeah, and it's all
it's
online, too.
yeah.
I just, for the visual of it. So I think once I get the ordinance into a format that we can all read, we can all look at, make any recommendations or anything like that. And like I said, I think Mike was talking about that it really goes, any kind of an ordinance goes to the attorney and they look at it. And I think HPC would be great to have it. That's the Historical Preservation Committee. Because they were the ones that wrote that whole big, excuse me, memo, I think, back to to the city after we passed the ordinance about residential, just strictly residential lighting. And I think they've got a lot of knowledge on that side, too, that would help us to see if there's anything we're missing in the ordinance, you know. So, that's really it.
All right,
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Oh, you're welcome.
okay. Gretchen, you want to talk about the Monarch Festival?
Can I just, back to, I think part of Mike's, the Dune Project plantings?
I'm sorry?
Anything- I should have jumped in, I should have said that before I even jumped in. I think part of the agenda was the Dune Project plantings list
Oh,
proposed
yeah,
by
and
Lomax.
it's still at absolute zero. There's
Okay.
no, it's all a DEP.
Okay, so we're still on.
We're still waiting on that. Yeah, I
Okay.
checked on that on last Tuesday.
Make sure that gets back on next month's agenda.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, all right. So Monarch Fest was another great event. Great turnout, pretty consistent throughout the day. I mean, based on our numbers, we think a little less than last year, but it was just constant, you know, a nice crowd throughout the day.
Beautiful weather.
Good weather, a little windy, I think, which was challenging for Monarchs. And Monarchs have arrived, but they were just a little late this year. But it was a great event, and a big part of what happened on that day was that the city of Rosemere in Canada and Quebec, the mayor and his contingent came down and signed they called it twinning, sister city agreement between this town in Quebec and the city of Cape May. And I can send out the link to the video that Rosemere did about their town. Looks like a lovely town, and they do invest heavily in their green open spaces, and they really, they just kind of embrace those spaces. And they did a video of their public gardens and pollinator gardens, and I was really impressed by this couple-minute video, and hopefully that inspires our mayor of things we can be doing. I know we're looking at these spaces like Lafayette Street Park and the other spaces, but we could focus more on the pollinators, because that's part of ecotourism, and that brings in a lot of people. We already know that people are coming. They want to come. We have people from all over the state, the region, that come to Cape May for Monarch Festival. Just as much as there's crazy birders out there, there's crazy butterfly people too. And so we might be at the point where Monarch Fest, do we make it bigger? I don't know. It's kind of nice how it is, but do we expand and close off a section of the street in front of the nature center and move out there and actually draw more people in? But in general, it was great. We had the Environmental Commission part of it.
The Sister City people came over and talked at the table a bunch.
Yeah.
They were friendly. They were really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the county was very much, I mean, this happened because of the county tourism and their representative that they have in Quebec was there and kind of brought this all together. And they know the important link between Canadian tourism and Cape May County. The mayor from Rosemere himself has been coming to Cape May County for years, always went to Sea Isle City. So I don't know why he picked us instead of Sea Isle, but he saw the connection there. So that also brings in dollars. So it was just a great event, and I hope that they came to learn about our Monarch Festival because they're going to have a Monarch Festival, and probably theirs would be in July or August. That's the peak of their monarch season. Who knows, maybe there's more ways that we can connect. I did get an interesting note from the coordinator, and she just said, she wrote a funny comment, "Your mayor needs an assistant." Like me, because, and they're very structured. Like when he came and he saw that we were like an outdoor festival, he's like, "Well, the signing and the speeches are going to be outside. You don't have a big room." Like they're just more, we're, go with the flow here. So it was just interesting, but I think there's opportunities there. It was a great festival. Sometimes we don't need to change it, but there's probably possibility that we can, especially if we're doing things like improvements along the harbor. We could feature it. Just think about it. If there were beautiful pollinator gardens at Harborview Park, we could connect the places. My goal, just so you know, one of the things I have to tell you, I'll be honest, the day before Monarch Festival, I watched his video from Canada, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at their gorgeous gardens. My gardens don't look this good at the Nature Center. I'm embarrassed. They don't look. So that is my goal. Right now, the Kiwanis Club is installing our bee observation hive. We're making a kiosk out front, in front of the Welcome Center. And I'm determined to find the funds to renovate the front Welcome Center garden to be just a pop of color everywhere. So that's our goal for this year at the center, that by spring, summer, we'll be redoing our front gardens, the butterfly garden, the front of the education hall, and the front of the Welcome Center. So we're looking for funding.
Sounds good.
All we need is money. We just need money.
Charlotte, you want to speak?
Sure, I'll just piggyback on the Monarchs in the City of Cape May theme. And I'd like to take you back to the early 1990s, because if you look on Pittsburgh Avenue, just below the Lutheran Church, there's a nice cut-through to Sewell Park. And that cut-through was a very interesting story. If you take the path, you're going to walk up finally to a mound. It's Mountain Cape May, and that site is artificially placed by an incident in the 1990s. I got a call from the city manager during that period and alerting the commission to get over there to the site that some fill was being dumped. And truckload after truckload after truckload that early morning was brought in to the Sewell Point. If you walk in that site, then you're going to go up to, as I cited, Mount Cape May. And this dirt was placed there as intentional fill so that the wetlands could be considered a buildable site. And the police were called, the state was called, there was a fist fight that went on, and it was quite a day for Cape May, but in the end, everything was halted. The fill was halted, truckload after truckload of dirt. But we do now have an opportunity to walk up there and see the most amazing array of monarchs. Probably the best I've ever seen in the entire county. Just beautiful. And I don't really think folks know about it very much. I know Gretchen has,
I haven't been back in there in a while. Just recently, did you go in there and see?
no, the last time I was back there was probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay, all right.
But it's, you know, when you think about Mexico and you think about all the butterflies that congregate and breed and so forth, you just wouldn't even imagine what goes on in terms of the birding and the butterflies. So I thought I would mention it so that if people have an opportunity, I would caution that probably you want to wait until there's a frost just because of some ticks. Be very careful. But you've been back there, Gretch?
Not recently, I've not, no. It's
The
been a
last time, one of the mayors took our entire commission. That was a good day, too. Anyway, that was just something that I wanted to add as a memorable Monarch moment in my life. Then moving on,
As long as it starts with an M anyway, right?
I'd like to cite something for all of you. Cape May City Ordinance Number 1170-99, Landscaping and Vegetation Plan. The utilization of natural indigenous vegetation is encouraged. The plant list published by New Jersey Audubon Society provides for landscaping for local and migratory species. The Stopover Project, offering critical food and cover for wildlife, is endorsed and supported by this Cape May ordinance. Specific plant listings are prepared by New Jersey Audubon Society. The plantings attract hummingbirds, butterflies, and protect New Jersey's native trees, shrubs, vines that are beneficial to the birds. Following, dune grass planting. Following the beach restoration in the late 1980s, the city began an ambitious program of dune creation and maintenance. These dunes protect the city from tidal flooding during coastal storms. Plus, they help stabilize the beach. They're also used by various animals year-round and are especially important during fall migration for the monarch butterflies, various songbirds that use them. The dunes were created by planting American beach grass seedlings on the upper part of the beach. The seedlings were protected with a row of snow fencing, and over time, the fence and the grass plants captured the sand and the dunes were formed. Each year, storms erode parts of the beach and damage the dunes, but restorative plantings are done each spring and fall by the city and volunteers, such as all the work that was done in the late 1980s, especially in part by the Kiwanis Club and the Garden Club of Cape May. With that, I'd like to cite an article, that's our history, bringing us up to date. We have an article in the Star and Wave last week by our chairperson, Jay Schatz. And he says that the dunes are a maritime forest. And when you think about it, if you're a traveler and you've had the opportunity to visit any maritime areas, such as North Carolina and certainly Hilton Head, there are many, many trees on those beaches. And Jay says to the editor, this is in response in a letter published in September 20th edition, that the beach vegetation needs careful planning Jay says, I was a part of the large group of volunteers who in 1991, armed with rope and fishing rod and sand spikes, planted thousands of plugs of Spartina beachgrass from Poverty Beach east past Philadelphia Avenue. We had to do it twice, as most of the first effort was washed away during the winter. Every tree, every shrub, and bush seaward of Beach Drive is a volunteer brought in by the wind, ocean, and birds, and is naturally occurring maritime forest. So Jay is suggesting that indeed our beaches need to be preserved and that we have an obligation to make sure that the ecosystem that we have for plants, animals in that area stay and feel welcome and support by the city of Cape May. I suppose that there is the suggestion that perhaps we don't know what's going to happen this fall with someone who's been hired to look after beach maintenance. And I know Gretchen has had some tailored walks for that area over the years. Can you speak to the types of vegetation?
Well, we do beach combing at the Cove every Wednesday morning. I've been the one doing it, so my one program I get to get out of the office and do. And we're not just picking up shells on the beach and talking about wave dynamics and all that. I end the walk by walking up into the dune cut at Mount Vernon Avenue. We talk about the vegetation and the importance of the vegetation in the structural integrity of a dune. It's really, I always describe it as it's like an iceberg. It's not what you see, it's what's underneath the ground that's really important. It's a network of roots that are holding the sand together. So, American dune grass, Ammophila is the genus. That's the most critical plant that you have. But then it's the seaside goldenrod and the beach heather, and then comes in the shrubs like northern bayberry and beach plum. Then you get into trees like wild black cherry. So all of those things are important. And actually the curb, that cut, Mount Vernon Avenue, is the best way to see kind of, you're walking right through the middle of the dune and you see how it changes. So yeah, I agree with Charlotte. It's really important that we look at that. I know that adding trees could become a controversial thing because it's going to block people's views, but it's part of the natural ecosystem. And there are places, I think North Wildwood has some areas where they've preserved their dune areas a little bit better. I just wanted to add another thing. I got a really exciting email the other day, and former city employee Lou Belasco is now at Wildwood Convention Center as their executive director, and they're looking to do 1,200 feet along the front of the convention center and in front of that big Wildwood sign with the big concrete beach balls in native plants. So they're reaching out to Rutgers and to New Jersey Audubon and the USDA Plant Materials Center for advice. And I said, absolutely, we want to work with you on this project because they could be the model for what all the other communities in Cape May County should be doing along their beachfront. And this is in the landscape areas. they have some people that want to put in AstroTurf, but he is at least acknowledging that we should do native plants, and there's an educational opportunity here. I know the city recently landscaped in front of Convention Hall, but they missed an opportunity there because they put in plants that require water and maintenance and all of that. So the next time we go around and have to do re-landscaping, maybe Wildwood would end up being the model of what we all should be doing. And we can make it look nice with native plants. It's not, native doesn't mean unkept and scraggly and, you know, it's not also maintenance-free. There are requirements to take care of it, but anyway, it brings in birds, butterflies, and that brings in also visitors that want to see that.
Thank you. I would just like to say to our Councilman Yeager that I am very much in favor of what Jay is saying in terms of a maritime forest. We do have some trees there that probably should be preserved. The black Japanese pine in particular, he talked about while he was here. And I don't know how we're going to make that happen if we have a hired landscaper going along the beach and deciding for us what should be left and what should be taken. And I am making a pitch that indeed trees are maritime forest, and we reflect, like many other communities, their importance. So I don't know, Mike, if you know a time that project's going to start, or if we could be alerted and walk along with the company and as
I don't know when it's going to start, but there's no way that the city would say, no, the Environmental Commission cannot be involved in the planting decisions.
Okay.
And I know I've had this discussion with them before.
All right.
More so about the new seawall and, you know, making sure that this commission's involved in the plant selection there. But I can reiterate, it's just assume it's the entire beach in Cape May. This commission should be consulted.
We appreciate
I thought I read where they're talking about the pines should be ripped out because they don't belong there. I'm like,
Well,
what?
can I just comment on that? I mean, it's my understanding that every coastal community has to have a dune management plan. And in that dune management plan is landscape requirements. So a hired landscaper just cannot go in there and decide what to do.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get in trouble. And we've heard all those stories, Avalon, you know, ripping out things. And I think the city of Cape May has done some boo-boos too,
Yeah.
that, you know, it can't just be willy-nilly, and we don't want to have that happen where the landscaper just takes it upon themselves, oh, I need to clear this out. We know we've got to, like, take out poison ivy where it could be affecting passerbys and all of that, but, I mean, Japanese black pine, it's Japanese. It's really not a native. There are other options that we should be adding in, like red cedar, Virginia pine, which I have leftovers at our plant sale at the Nature Center. Yeah, so hopefully it's not like the landscaper can just do whatever they need to do. There has to be some oversight, and they have to make sure that they're following a dune management plan.
Right.
So Gretchen, clarify, are you saying the black Japanese pine should still stay?
So it's a little bit, what I'm saying is I wouldn't add more.
Right.
And it's not it's not invasive, but I'm just saying those are things that humans planted those, And if we really let a natural maritime forest go over to the other side of Cape May Inlet, where the old Coast Guard station is over there, it's now a National Wildlife Refuge, and take a walk through their dune trails there, and you're gonna see what it should look like. And it's gonna be eastern red cedar that are in there. There's gonna be bayberries, and then the cherries, the wild black cherries will come in there. Some of the pines are gonna be things like Virginia pine, loblolly pine.
So would you leave the Japanese?
Probably I would, just because they're mature, but I wouldn't
They're
keep.
established, yeah.
They're established. I wouldn't keep on, and they are adapted, but I'm just saying, there's an example
We're not gonna plant any
of management plan that's
Right.
going to say, like, what you should do and what you should not do.
Right.
But I think, given an option, I would add a whole bunch more bayberries and beach plums and bayberry is something like 65 different species of songbirds will use the fruit. And you've probably walked down on the beachfront and you see all the tree swallows and coming down and flocking into the shrubs there. So,
Good information, thank you.
So, Mike, will the company meet with council to say what they're going to do first?
I would assume that any plan like that would be presented to us. I think Lorraine may be, in fact, the liaison working with getting this, the plan together. So I'll mention it to her again. She's the one I check on to see where we're at with
All right.
with the project, and
Thank you.
she's the one that assured me that we're still on hold waiting for permits and approval from the DEP. But I'll just remind her that, we've discussed it before, and it's important to talk about it again, that this commission be consulted in the final decision
Thank you so
on the
much.
plantings.
Great, terrific. And lastly, in terms of leaves, this is the season for falling leaves. And there was, certainly in my childhood, a time where people would go and set them on fire, and there were bonfires and just the most delicious smells that I can remember. They were really wonderful, except that it got to the point where we understood about air pollution as well. But I guess I am asking for us to think about keeping the leaves in our yard because they do contribute a wonderful mulch, and it's free. And it can be mowed or it can be put in piles. But the one thing that I would love the city to think about is this. Could there be, again, a citation by our police force to lawn contractors who blow all the leaves into the street, then consequently clogging up our drains and our sewers? That's not a healthy thing. And we used to have a big campaign where every sewer was marked throughout the city that said, do not do this. Do not, because you're really clogging up. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to our attention again, that the leaves are important as fertilizer for your grasses or in a compost. It's free. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any more comments they'd like to make? If not, then motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I second.
Mike's off. please.